I am Canadian. I am Canadian. I am a Canadian. Damn it, I'm a Canadian. What does it mean today to be a Canadian? It's a very serious question because we're on the world stage. I mean, Harper has put us there. He talks about Canada being the beacon on this hill, that we are the shining example of how economies can work. So we're being watched. What does it mean to be Canadian? Well, first of all, we've got to get a clear picture, and we've got to remember the fact that politicians don't always tell the truth. So when they talk about Canada's economy being so powerful and strong, well, in some ways, and to some people it is. But the fact is that we have a big problem with poverty, all the way from Victoria, British Columbia, to Halifax on the eastern coast. Poverty is a very major issue with young people, single parents, elderly. I mean, there's a lot of people. I heard today on the news, 250,000 elderly live in poverty. How can that be when our country is so rich and wealthy, and it just seems to be just going along hunky-dory, that we have a problem with poverty? But there's a lot of other issues. You know, we're on the world stage, getting involved in Libya, Syria, maybe even Iran. A war in Iran is coming, maybe. Because we want to bring those people opportunity. We want to solve their problems. Well, prior to departing to Davos, Switzerland, Prime Minister Harper met with the First Nation leaders. And guess what? We have problems at home. First Nation leaders. Now remember, First Nation means Native Canadians, Native Indians. This was their land before the white European settlers arrived. This was their land. And the dismal conditions that they live in doesn't do justice to third world countries. So we go into countries and we say, well, you know, you can't have people living in those conditions. I mean, look at that. There's hunger, famine, the government's watching them. There's all sorts of different things. Have you seen the conditions on First Nations? The houses, lack of education, alcohol abuse, all the different issues. How is it possible that a country so strong and powerful, so looked high on in the world as Canada is, has such a dismal record with First Nation? I mean, we're just lucky. We are lucky that the First Nations don't have the population and the support to say, okay, you've had enough fun with the country, get up, it's time to move along. We're taking it back. We're repossessing it. There's a lot of issues. I mean, Harper is going to be heading off to India and to China to sign trade deals. India, one of the most corrupt countries, where bribery is a way of doing business. It's known. The Indian people have been demonstrating in the streets wanting change. Their politicians are corrupt. Now we're going to deal with them. You know what that means? That we're going to have to get into the trenches. And I'm just so afraid that a lot of our companies are going to be involved in payoffs and doing whatever just to get in that door. And we're going to be dealing more and more with China. I mean, Chinese are great white hope because we're going to ship them oil and China needs it, and China is so good and great. At the same time, they're talking about how China oppresses people in Tibet, their own people, there's spies on its own people, there's imprisonment, there's all sorts of different issues. China is not an open democratic country. But we're going to look the other way because guess what's involved in it for us? Money. Jobs, money. And when it comes to our morals, we're going to sell ourselves out to the highest bidder whenever we can. So what does it mean to be Canadian? Are we going to get involved in more wars? Maybe get involved in a war against Iran? Why? Well, because other countries are doing it. Remember what parents say to kids? You're going to jump off the bridge if somebody else does it? We don't have to be. Being Canadians can put us onto a higher ground. But we have to stand our ground. We can't let the politicians take away what Canada is and sell it to the highest bidder. At least that's the way I see it. Thank you.